Hello, if you're a family with a student studying abroad or headed to study abroad this fall, you may have noticed the news update from the U.S. that sounds a little bit frightening with regard to new visa rules. Today we're going to go through and slow down a little and focus just on the facts and see what's actually changed, who it affects, and what you can do about it. Hi, I'm Scott Martin. Welcome to the special edition of Global Student Voices. I'm the host, and today I'm actually reporting to you from Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, where on July 16th, 2026, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security published the final rule that changes how long international students can stay in the United States. For nearly 50 years, the students on F-1 and J-1 visas were admitted to the U.S. on what's called a duration of status, which just meant you had to update the government whenever for your length of your study, and so update them and so on. So in plain terms, as long as you stayed enrolled and followed the rules, you could remain, and there was no fixed end date. So that's the part that's changed. Under the new rule, F1 and J1 visas are admitted for the length of their program, but capped at a maximum of 4 years. It takes effect on September 15th of 2026. So this is the current enrolling this fall. This is taking effect now. So that's the situation. Now let's talk about why it creates a real planning question and why it's not an emergency that some headlines have suggested. Here's the tension. For a lot of families, 4 years is plenty. Most students, that's the standard undergraduate degree. It fits comfortably inside that window. But for some paths, they run longer. There are certain degrees that take an extra semester or an extra year in undergraduate, or they're completing a program that's undergraduate followed by master's and even PhD programs. Certain professional degrees, and those can stretch past the 4 years, and that's where this rule matters most. If a student needs more time than their fixed period allows, they have to file a formal extension of stay application with USCIS before their time runs out. Now, here's the part to understand clearly. Those extension decisions are discretionary, and they cannot be appealed, so it's not automatic, or at least in the rule, that's how it's applied. Now, we'll see once we actually get into the application of these rules, which won't be for 4 years, how automatic or not automatically it has. There's been a lot of trust between academic institutions and the Department of Homeland Security on visa issues for students for all of this time. And so I would hope that, this rule will be appealed, it will go to court, it may or may not come into effect in September, but I would hope that the relationship between the student, the school, DOJs, designated school officials, DSOs at the schools, that relationship with Department of Homeland Security will continue to be strong and positive, and that these things will become fairly routine and automatic, much as the other reporting that was done. The good news is that, and I want you to hear this really clearly, if your student is already in the United States, lawfully enrolled, and they're there before September 15th, they are not cut off that day. Students already on a valid status will generally stay until the program end date on their current I-20 or DS 2019, up to the 4 years from the effective date. So, if you're in your second year and you've got a couple years to go, this isn't really going to affect you much. The main thing is for students, and this was true long before this ruling, is be in contact with your designated school official to make sure that you're filing things in a timely manner. Be alert to these kind of changes. We had the host of Ask a DSO, Josh Schooner, on our podcast a few weeks ago. Follow him if your DSO is not easily contacted, and he has all the updates and the rules as they happen. And we'll try to get another episode with him now that we have this rule change. For the students moving toward work, the rule does not change the H-1B gap protection. That pathway stays intact. So you should do exactly 3 things. Let me give you the 3 things you need to do. And so if you're a parent, communicate these 3 things to your student. If you're a student, communicate these 3 things to your friends. Map the real program length against that 4-year window. If the whole plan fits inside the 4 years, you have very little, if anything, to worry about. If the path runs longer, so the point 2, if your path is going to run longer than those 4 years, plan your extension from day one. Just don't leave it till the last semester. Build the timeline backwards from the deadline, not forward from today. So think about looking at your course plan, and if it's going to extend beyond the 4 years that you were allotted, make sure that you plan to file those extensions, have it in your calendar, make sure it's locked in, and make sure that you file that ahead of time. If the U.S. path no longer fits your plan, remember that it's not the only path. I did study in the U.S. I've been helping students process their applications and study in the U.S. for a long time, but we've been placing students and people working with us and gone to over 40 different countries in the last few years. So there are excellent universities in other countries, and globally mobile students are built to thrive in more than one location. If the anxiety about this is overwhelming, or if you're from one of the countries that has other restrictions on getting a visa, feel free to reach out to Global Student Solutions. Contact me. It's at info@globalstudentweb.org, and we'll make sure we get you with a counselor who can meet with you and look at some other options and see how it affects you. So this is exactly what we do at Global Student Solutions. We navigate all these rule changes. There, countries change all the time, and how those affect your plan. We'll sit with you. We'll look honestly at you or your student or your situation and map out alternatives, including options outside the U.S. or if you're just into the U.S., how to keep track of your visa and make sure that you stay in status. Let me tell you what I keep coming back to. Rules like this change timelines. They change paperwork. But they do not change whether or not a globally mobile student, a global student, belongs at a great university. You do. You belong at a great university. That's the big takeaway. A student who's grown up crossing borders, adapting and belonging in more than one place, that student's not defined by one country's admissions window. The goal was never a single visa. The goal is a life with options. So, take the facts, leave the fear, make a plan while there's time, and make it a good one. And if you want to partner with that, you know where to find us. This has been a special edition of Global Student Voices. I'm Coach Scott Martin. Karibu. Welcome, and we'll see you in the next one.